This is great.
They were short. I see you right there. I see you. Look on the other side. Got you, Junior. See you in there.
We're gonna miss you, Junior. The mac and cheese. Mac and cheese for life. Junior. Are we not?
gentlemen, welcome. I realize everybody is just sitting down, and I'm about to ask you to stand up again, please. We're going to stand for the invocation by Reverend Mark Lingle, and we'll stay standing for the singing of the Star Spangled Banner.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, creator of the universe. We give thanks for the beauty of this day, the serendipity of this moment, the wonder of life, and the myriad gifts of the mind, the body, and the heart. During this commencement season, we give thanks for King and the great class of 2019. Bless this ceremony and all who gather to celebrate the intellectual, artistic, athletic, service, and communal interests and accomplishments of these students. Thank you for the love and support of parents, siblings, friends, grandparents, faculty, board members, volunteers, and staff who have had a hand in preparing these graduates to grow and to flourish in a rapidly changing world. May those who graduate this day continue to develop more fully into the lives that they have been given and share their gifts with the larger world for the upbuilding of our common humanity. Make us always mindful of our connection, one to another, that we possess in this world. And may we always honor the dignity of every human being. Amen.
Good afternoon, everybody. Are you out there? Good afternoon, everybody. There you are. Excellent. Welcome, welcome. My name is Karen Eshoo. I'm the head of school here at King School, and it is both an honor and a real pleasure to welcome you to the commencement ceremony for the class of 2019. So to the Board of Trustees, to my colleagues, to all the family, friends, special guests, and alumni, and apparently we even have alumni here who's the grandfather of one of our graduates today, Mr. Hayek. Welcome to all of you as we share this time together to look back on the impact that this group of students sitting in front of us today has had on our school. Now, I think everybody in this room knows, probably even the students sitting up here, that these kids were a group project. Not one of them is here only because of one person in this room, not even themselves. Every one of us in this room has made some contribution to the growth that they have achieved over the time that they've been here at King. And whether it's because we taught them, we supported them, we loved them, or just through the force of sheer will, pushed them across some of these lines that they had to cross, I know that we're all the better for it. Now, to the class of 2019, what I'd like you to do right now is this. I want you to literally, and turn your heads when you do it so you can get a full range. I want you to look around the room at all of the people who have come today. Don't forget to go all the way over here to the faculty. Take a look at all of the people who are here for you today. I know some people are already waving at you. Some people are making it easy because they've got your face on a big popsicle stick. That's good too. There we go. All right, now, so class of 2010, when you look out into this room today, this is love looking right back at you. You are here because you are surrounded by love. And the entire time that you've been here at King, however long that has been the case. You are where you are, and you are who you are because of the people in this room who love you. That's one of the things that I hope you never forget, and if there's anything you take from this experience, it is that you are loved. Now, there are some students in this class of 2019 who have been loved here maybe a little bit longer than some of the others because we like to honor at graduation those who we call lifers here at King. So these are students who started in either pre-kindergarten or kindergarten, and I'd like to recognize them now. So when I call your name, if you could just please stand at your seat. Please hold your applause until all the names have been called. So to our lifers this year, we congratulate Natasha Asa, Louise Dill, Caroline Eagleton, Mallory Ehlers, Alexander Holtz, Jordan Kulik, Joshua Lewis, Annie Michalski, Paul Nugent, Samuel Rabasa, Jacob Savitz, Amelia Whiteley, and Ashley Eshoo. Congratulations to the lifers. And so for the class of 2019, I will say that we certainly have rightfully been celebrating for a long time now, actually, all of the things that you've done since you've been here at King, whether individually or collectively. And I can definitely say to you as the students that you absolutely have accomplished some amazing things in the time that you've been with us. And while I remain actually in awe of all that you've accomplished and the great things to which you have aspired, I'm going to spend just a few minutes talking to you a little bit about what I've learned about you as humans. Because while you've aspired to do great things, what I also know is that you have aspired to be really good. And so that's really going to be what your legacy is here at King. So as I've gotten to know you this year, I've learned that you actually believe it is possible to have an inclusive community amongst each other, and that you also know that that has to be made to happen. You actually talked with me a lot in your exit conversations this year about how well a Venn diagram would probably show how many students in your class belong to multiple friend groups and how much flow there is between the groups. That's actually unusual. I saw you lead, for example, at the beginning of the year, the entire student body in the pep rally to kick off our homecoming weekend. And I think that as I watched you in particular go out into the crowd multiple times to find the youngest and the smallest students possible, to pull them in and dance with them when you were covered with body paint and wearing all sorts of weird Viking armor, they looked at you like you were gods and goddesses because you made them feel part of this. And that was something that you chose to do. I observed you when you were going through your college process, which is difficult. And what I noticed is that you rejected the common assumption that one of your classmates' gains would be your loss. And instead, even when things were pretty difficult, when you experienced some disappointment, you were there for each other in ways that I haven't seen very often. And that's one of the things that makes you, you. And of course, I really believe that that's one of the reasons why you have accomplished the things that you have. Now, I think that, especially lately, what I really enjoyed seeing about you as a class is just that you've been embracing each other, literally and metaphorically. So whether that's when I saw you kind of leaning in for pictures at prom without, of course, like messing up your hair, whether that was last night at the graduation dinner when actually I really thought that the senior parents had pretty much won the entire night with the way that they presented Lady Gaga's Born This Way. Senior parents, you have set a very high standard, I'm just saying. But I had to take that back when these students actually spontaneously got up on stage themselves to really, I think, grab the night back from all of us adults as they decided to dance their way through Old Town Road. There are some things that happened up there that I'll never be able to unsee. And that's okay. Because it was the love that you could see, and it was the love that you could feel. Now, in all of these things that I'm describing about you as a class, these were all times when you could have chosen to be different. You could have chosen to act differently. You could have chosen to step back, and instead, you leaned in. This, I think, is why you are a class that we find at King to be very special to us, and in many ways, one of the best ways that our values are embodied and that come to life every day. And it's only because you've chosen to be this way. And so for that, we thank you. I'm going to leave you with a little bit of my own gratitude for actually choosing to welcome me, because this is my first year here at King. You welcomed me quickly, you welcomed me warmly, and you made me feel like your school was my school almost from the start. And that was something that I had hoped for, but frankly never expected. And again, that's unusual. So I want to thank you for allowing me to get to know you in different ways this year. Sometimes it was just with the smile and the chin nod acknowledgement in the hall. That was a good start at the early part of the year. Sometimes it was on-the-fly conversations when I'd see you at games or when I'd see you at theater performances. And then sometimes it was when we sat around talking about how we were doing in the death bracket that you invited me to join for Game of Thrones. That was my favorite, for sure. Now, what all of this means is that I know that my wish for you as you commence today, and I know that this is a wish that is shared by all of my colleagues here, is that you use the superpowers that you have honed here at King and that you have used for good and not for evil here at King, that you take your superpowers out into the world and you use them there as well. And you make the world a little bit more of an inclusive place. You make the world a little bit more of a welcoming place. And you be the ones to choose to make that happen when others will not. And the reason why is because all of us will benefit from it. So hope that you go out and do that. Because, and I think that as I think about sharing the love back with you that you shared with us, I saw a lovely quote from the author Ursula Le Guin, who wrote, "Love doesn't just sit there like a stone. It has to be made like bread, remade all the time and made new." And that is what I hope for you in the class of 2019. Thank you, and love you guys. It's now my pleasure to turn the microphone over to the Chair of the Board of Trustees and parent of 3 alumni, Mr. Tom Conheeney.
Thanks, Karen. Welcome, everyone, tonight. I don't have to welcome everybody individually because Karen already did that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thank Marnie, because obviously Marnie's prayers keep getting answered year after year with this unbelievable weather. I don't know if it's Mark or Marnie, but it's amazing that your prayers come through every time. But today is obviously a very special day for all of you. The highly accomplished graduating class of 2019. Really. And also for your parents, family, and friends who are here to celebrate your past achievements and are looking forward to seeing you flourish in college and the years to come. This year, as I step down as board chair of the King Board, I can relate to how your parents are feeling today. Your parents are so proud of you, and I feel a similar pride when I think about how far the King School has come in these past few years. Your parents are filled with hopes and dreams for your future, and I have a similar excitement about King's future. I know we are in excellent hands with Dr. Eshoo, leading us and a strong team of faculty and staff in place, or staffalty, as Dr. Eshoo likes to say, a word that I now know quite well. We obviously have a very supportive network of parents and donors and an ever-expanding group of alumni, a group you will soon join the moment you toss your hat into the air. And not at anybody, into the air, okay. And it's nice to be passing the leadership baton at a time when we have so much confidence in where we are as an educational institution and a school community, the community of King that we are all so very proud. In the interest of time, I will leave the recap of your impressive class stats to other speakers. But I must say, congratulations on one of the most impressive college lists I've seen from a class from King. So congratulations. I do want to take a moment to say that I hope you will rely on the strong foundation of your King School experience and the values you've learned and continue to live by to guide you through the next phases of life and, of course, over the next 4 years of college. It was David Henry Thoreau who said, "We are constantly invited to be who we are." That authenticity, that courage to be yourself and live by your values is what defines you. That authenticity, which has been critical to your experience here at King, will help you nurture your very special gifts and very special talents, and help you figure out your unique selling proposition, or as I like to say, what is your personal brand, and how are you going to develop that? There will be bumps in the road and distractions along the way, of course, but if you stay true to yourself, you will navigate through them and find your way. And always remember, be very protective and conscious of your personal brand. You are your chief marketing officer, and I can't leave you with a more important thought for your next 4 years of college. One other thought. Find common ground. We're living in an incredibly divisive time in our country's history. Be the generation that finds common ground. As you meet new people who may think differently, have different thoughts and opinions than your own, listen, communicate respectfully, engage in thoughtful debate, stick to your principles and values, but above all, compromise and find common ground. You are our future leaders, and we are relying on you to be the leaders in the future. I've been on the King board now for 15 years, and I'm often asked, why do I give so much time to King? Well, I always thought that was very obvious. It's because of all of you, the tremendously capable young men and women on the stage today, and the excitement that I have for all of you for what's ahead. Thank you for the honor and the privilege of serving as your board chairperson over the past 4 years. It's been a pleasure working with my fellow board members and, of course, our school leadership team. I have enjoyed watching the progress and staying so closely connected to a school that means so much to me and so much to my family of King graduates. When my daughter Kelly came home last year for her first break, she said, "Dad, I'm going to talk to you for a minute, not as a father, but I want to talk to you as a board chair. I want you to go into King, and I want you to just start thanking everybody, because I am the most well-prepared person at Notre Dame. So thank everybody at King. I'm sure you'll be saying the same things next year when you come home for your first break." So congratulations to the class of 2019. I can't wait to watch all of you pay it forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marnie Sidleski, and I have the honor to serve as head of upper school here at King, so I get to see these beautiful humans every single day. We're going to miss you so much. But we have some work to do before we depart, and this year I am triply, if you read your bulletin correctly, triply honored to introduce this year's valedictorians. Now, we do have 3. Please know our decision to have 3 valedictorians is not a case of wanting to cast a wider net in terms of grade point average and course rigor. Indeed, our 3 valedictorians are separated by 1/100th of a point. We have never had this happen in my time at King, to be sure, and it's likely never to happen again. But in a way, I don't think we should be surprised that in a class with such strong academic strengths as this one, we ended up with 3 students whose tied GPAs were higher than many of our recent valedictorians that we can remember. They are the top of a class that is collectively an extremely strong class. So what I'm going to do is introduce them in alphabetical order, and then we will all have the opportunity to hear from each of them, each unique, each brilliant in her own way, and each very much an example of what we at King value so very much. Students who have achieved what they've achieved with intelligence, passion, and genuine intellectual engagement. So, we start with A, Andersen. Grethe Andersen. When Grethe arrived at King, she was immediately identified by her teachers as being one of those once in a long while kinds of student. That is, according to Mr. Lear-Nickham, Grethe is a student who is admired for her, quote, prodigious intellectual talent, her strength of moral resolve, and her precocious ability to synthesize information, analyze trends, and solve problems, unquote. He also described her ability to ask, quote, only the toughest and most nuanced questions, unquote. Dr. Zobeck praised her writing ability recently, commenting that Grethe has, quote, already written papers that would be among the top essays at our highest institutions, and indeed are better than many I read when I was teaching at Yale, unquote. I also had the privilege of witnessing Grethe's brilliant mind and unwavering work ethic when she recently represented the Minister of Foreign Affairs in a historical simulation of the Suez Canal crisis of 1956 on a specialized committee at Harvard Model UN. As I watched her work in committee, I marveled at her ability to immerse herself in the complexity of her task, work with a wide range of perspectives, and grasp both big picture ideas and nuanced detail. It should not be a surprise to anyone that she was recognized as an outstanding delegate at that conference, one of several recognitions she's received at Model UN conferences in her career here. But what is perhaps the most impressive thing about Grethe is that she knows winning things, and as a triathlete, getting to the finish line first, is not the point of life, or at least not the point of her life. Grethe loves learning, loves ideas, loves the challenges and camaraderie of her triathlon endeavors, just as she loves the challenges and camaraderie of her own life. Love and insatiable curiosity are what drive her, not competition for the highest grades, most awards, or fastest time. She heads this fall to Washington University in St. Louis as the winner of a prestigious 4-year full tuition scholarship, the Arnold J. Lean Scholarship, a program that awards only 4 such scholarships in the area of social sciences. We know Grethe will throw herself into her studies there with the passion and brilliance she has shown at King. Ladies and gentlemen, valedictorian Grethe Andersen.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sidlowski, for that lovely introduction. When I was named valedictorian alongside Mallory and Annie, I was beyond honored, but also quite daunted by the duty at hand. Valedictorians are typically tasked with talking about academic excellence, but I had no idea what I was supposed to say about that to my classmates. I'm not even sure how to define academic excellence, as it's such an elusive ideal, but whatever it is, I feel that this class embodies it. These are some of the smartest, most dedicated people I know. So when I started brainstorming for this speech, I conducted a quick Google search, which yielded an incredibly brief definition of the idea at hand. Academic excellence is the ability to perform well in scholastic endeavors. This definition was accompanied by some helpful tips on how to attain such academic excellence, such as study hard, do your homework. And I definitely do not think that this class in particular needs to hear any of those tips. So this felt like a dead end. The aforementioned definition was just so limited and completely at odds with my understanding of academic excellence. It didn't even come close to touching upon the thousands of hours of work that we have all done in order to graduate high school, and it didn't do justice to the love of learning and the true dedication that is required in the pursuit of academic achievement. That definition makes it sound like academic excellence is simply the final result rather than the journey towards achieving that result. So, while faced with indecision about what to write about, I thought back to the last time that I was giving a speech inside a hot tent like this one. Granted, this was my 8th grade graduation speech, so the stakes were a lot lower and the speeches were a lot shorter. My speech was unbelievably cheesy. I believe one of the exact quotes was, "Everything I need to know I learned in middle school." Yikes. While I will spare you the cliche-ridden details, the message was simple. I had learned so much more in middle school than basic conjugations, Greek history, or Rube Goldberg projects. I had learned valuable lessons about community, friendship, and myself. So while 8th grade me was a little shaky on the delivery, I still agree with the message. Academic achievement, like getting those quantifiable grades or GPAs, is indeed part of what defines academic excellence. But to get to that point, there was so much more work. Through the pursuit of academic excellence, you build valuable relationships with your teachers and classmates. You learn about your community, and you learn how to support each other, cultivating valuable social currency along the way. That academically driven, yet supportive environment is exactly what makes King so special. That community is what attracted me to King in the first place. My family only toured 3 schools before moving here, but we knew King was the place. But what really made us confident in our choice was not King's amazing academic reputation, or their gorgeous campus, or their outstanding athletic programs, although those did help. It was King's motto, knowledge for the journey. That idea is an important viewpoint to take with education. After all, education is a lifelong journey. High school should not be seen as the finish line. But I could have never predicted how much people here take that motto to heart. All of my teachers are dedicated to making sure that their students learn skills that will stick with them for life, and not just for the school year. The teachers that I've had for senior year demonstrate this concept beyond a shadow of a doubt. Mr. D often interrupts lectures in order to give advice on classes to take in college and, through dozens upon dozens of quizzes, made sure that we knew the importance of understanding the baseline material before piecing together the bigger picture. Dr. Zobek showed me that it really is possible to give 110% to everything you do, as long as you're passionate about it. In fact, his classes have helped me to find my passion for anthropology, which I hope to major in at college. Ms. Manganello is always ready to give out book recommendations because, while she knows that Jane Austen isn't for everyone, she does know that a love of literature and reading exposes students to new vocabulary, hones their critical thinking skills, and provides an escape from our chaotic world. Dr. Chausson helped me to explore the French language beyond grammar and topics set forth by the AP board by undertaking an independent study with me. His passion for diversity and cross-cultural comparison shone through in our discussions and will certainly stay with me. Mr. Lash planned specific classes in us in order to help us understand our learning style, showing me that he wants us to succeed in all of our future classes and not just statistics. Dr. Schulman, who is awe-inspiringly dominant in her field, showed my genetics class not only the hard science, but also the ethical questions behind that science, helping to bring to us the kind of interdisciplinary study usually only found in college classes. Finally, the day before our comparative government exam, Mr. Learnicum was showing us articles on synthetic biology, which will undoubtedly become a hot topic political issue in our lifetimes, instead of worrying whether or not we understood the structure of Russia's Duma. He wanted to ensure that we knew the skills we learned in that class would serve us for life, and not just for the impending exam. So although a short and sweet definition of academic excellence eludes me, I believe that the relationships you build in pursuit of that ideal are much more important anyway. The unquantifiable aspects of your educational journey, such as dedication, passion for your chosen field of study, and all of the relationships you build are what will serve you for life. Remember that there is always a community of people behind you that have enabled you to get to this point where you are right now, and who have taught you more than you may realize at this moment. So thank you to all of my teachers, my family, and my classmates, and good luck to all of you next year.
Next, we have E for Ehlers. Mallory Ehlers. Mallory has been a student at King since pre-K 4, correct? Pre-K 4. And her career here has been consistently stellar since then. Certainly Ann Palm, who I believe was the kindergarten teacher in those years, would have seen what we have seen in the upper school, a remarkable intellectual who is thoughtful, altruistic, and driven to make the world better. As her college counselor David Volane put it, Mallory Ehlers possesses a rare combination of brilliance, entrepreneurial drive, and goodwill that makes anyone she meets excited for the future of humanity. Indeed, our King community watched firsthand as she presented her work from her time in the Grimm Lab at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, where she worked to research new cancer treatments with fewer side effects and similar or greater efficacy than currently available chemotherapy options. According to King's director of our Advanced Math and Science Research Program, Dr. Schulman, Mallory's work with the Grimm research team at Sloan Kettering earned her an invitation to continue her work with the lab, directing her energies toward publishing her work in a respected, peer-reviewed medical journal. And when Mallory wasn't working on potential therapeutics for cancer patients, she was a standout on our varsity softball team, played volleyball for 3 years, and as a senior ran cross-country as the team's top-ranked female, earning MVP and Fairchester All-League honorable mention. How she did this while taking the train into the city to pursue her research passion, becoming a nationally certified EMT, volunteering at the Maritime Aquarium, competing on the math team, the A math team, I learned, serving as president of the STEM club, and supporting other students as an SAT math tutor, we can only imagine. This fall, she brings her brilliant self to Brown University, and we know we will continue to hear great things about her in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, valedictorian Mallory Ehlers.
Thank you, Ms. Sadlowski, for the considerate introduction. Hello and welcome to faculty, distinguished guests, family, and friends. I am honored to be named valedictorian with Grethe and Annie, who have each in their own way pushed me to be a better student. As I was thinking about what I would say today, I remembered that I had the privilege to stand at this podium once before as a class speaker at the lower school moving up ceremony in kindergarten, when I gave a riveting speech on warm fuzzies and cold pricklies. But when I reflected on that moment, I realized that in my own kindergarten way of thinking, I somehow sensed what I clearly understand 13 years later, the dynamic learning environment that exists here at King, which allows teachers to pursue and share their passions with their students. And yes, this started with Mrs. Palm, kindergarten teacher extraordinaire. She taught us to read chapter books and understand math through money, but more importantly, she taught us to live as good citizens through daily praise of warm fuzzies and redirection of cold pricklies. That was Mrs. Palm's passion. It seems each year teachers at King create new intriguing classes inspired by their own passions. A former King teacher, Mr. Trudell, created a class titled Expeditionary Studies. This was a year-long class that culminated in a kayaking expedition around the Outer Hebrides of Scotland. We prepared for our trip through the study of various earth sciences, including examining weather and water conditions. But Mr. Trudell's true passion was kayaking, so we kayaked so much that we became level 3 kayakers, allowing us to endure the conditions of the Outer Hebrides. Mr. O'Neill teaches a class about the Troubles, the historical conflict between the Catholics and the Protestants in Northern Ireland. Though he always had an interest in Irish history given his heritage, his interest in Northern Ireland peaked with the global implications of Brexit. His class traveled to Northern Ireland, where they interviewed politicians from both sides of the conflict. The students came to understand firsthand that, given its historical legacy, there will always be some divide between the nationalists and the loyalists, as reflected in present-day politics. Dr. Zobek was fascinated by archaeology from a young age, as he dug holes all over his yard looking for ancient remains. As an adult, he continued his digs throughout the United States and several countries in South America, especially Peru. Dr. Zobek now teaches an archaeology class at King, which sprung from a similar course he taught as an adjunct professor at Yale. His students dig at various sites, from our own Simon House to, more recently, Cove Island, But most importantly, the students learned that knowledge of archaeology is useful to expand traditional historical research. And in fact, those often absent from history, such as women and children, are rediscovered through archaeological data. But for me, of course, the epitome of a teacher following her passion in promoting a dynamic learning environment is Dr. Schulman and her Advanced Mathematics and Science Research Seminar. I had the pleasure of being one of 4 students this year in the seminar's very first class. We each held research internships starting last summer that continued throughout the school year. We were able to work in labs alongside graduate and postgraduate students and gain research experiences that are typically only available to select undergraduate students. We worked extremely hard in our labs, but Dr. Schulman took our exposure to research to the next level. We learned the proper format for scientific posters, prepared presentations on our research, and even wrote manuscripts that could be submitted for publication in research journals. Many of the core classes at King exhibit this same dynamic learning environment. Mr. DeFelice came to every single AP biology class beyond excited to teach a new concept or account his interest in different species. Have you ever asked Mr. D about beavers and how they support the ecosystem? You definitely should, but leave yourself some time. And his energy was not just limited to classes. It appears Mr. D spent his spare time making PowerPoint presentations with voiceovers on different topics, so we never learned biology without Mr. D. And I know I will never meet a teacher as passionate about math as Dr. K. In my BC Calc class last year, which took place in the fishbowl, she would literally jump from whiteboard to whiteboard, writing notes, equations, and practice problems while we swiveled around in our chairs to try and keep up. You can constantly find Dr. K tracking down students in the hallway to make sure they signed up for the American Math Competition, or strongly encouraging them to join the math team. Really, every teacher at King deserves to be mentioned for their commitment to their students, but there just isn't the time. So the advice I give myself as I head off to college, that I share with all of you, is to look for professors who mirror the teachers we had here at King. The teachers who are so passionate about a topic that they spark that same interest in their students, or help them to develop an interest they never knew they had before. I hope for myself and for all of my classmates that we will find the same dynamic learning environment wherever we may be heading in the fall. Thank you, and congratulations to the class of 2019.
Thank you so much, Mallory. And now we have M for Michalski. Annie Michalski. Annie has also been at King since pre-K4, and since then, we at King have watched her embrace every opportunity and challenge that has come her way with life-giving energy and intelligence. As her college counselor, Jessica Landis, puts it, Annie is, quote, gregarious, joyful, and brimming with energy, unquote, and, quote, moves comfortably among her math team cohort, her lacrosse teammates, her fellow artists, and students from every corner of the world at a Model UN conference, unquote. And I want to pause on those Model UN conferences for a second. This past winter, I had the pleasure of watching Annie win the Outstanding Delegate Award for representing the President of France in a simulation of the Summit on the Creation of the European State. At Haileybury Model UN in the UK, she received the highly commended Delegate Award for representing India on the Economic and Financial Committee there. Annie's work with Model UN is deeply connected to a genuine interest in global humanitarian issues and in leadership in general, and an example of her fine mind at work. As Mr. Galanopoulos writes, quote, Annie has a mature sense of human affairs, and her interests increasingly demonstrate a passionate interest in humanitarian causes, unquote. He also states that, quote, Annie's deep intellectual abilities, coupled with her empathetic nature, turn her into a delegate who is concerned not with winning an award, but collaborating with her peers to come up with a diplomatic solution to a global problem, unquote. Annie would agree, I know, with the observation that she seeks inclusion rather than exclusion, seeks to solve problems rather than just take an either-or approach. And as such, she is led to embrace so many different interests here and the people who engage in them. So we see Annie also excelling in our art program, co-chairing our math team, being captain of our championship volleyball team, serving for 4 years on peer review as president of our Young Republicans Club, as well as co-president of Model UN. and committing herself as a senior leader to our Captain's Council and Student Life Committee. I end with another observation from Mr. Galanopoulos. Annie is the kind of person who, quote, carries within herself the virtues of true scholar and citizen of the world, unquote. And that is a quote that I would apply to all three of our valedictorians, in fact. Dartmouth College is lucky to have Annie Michalski this fall. Ladies and gentlemen, valedictorian Annie Michalski.
So I guess the lights off mean you can all leave now? Oh, we're good. All right. Thank you, Ms. Sadlowski, for your kind introduction. Hi, everyone. I want to thank my family, friends, teachers, coaches, and the entire King community for helping me to become who I am today. I am honored to be here alongside Grethe and Mallory, whom I highly respect and admire. I am so happy to know we now live in a world where everybody gets to be the valedictorian of their senior class. Thanks, Obama. As I reflect on my King experience, I've thought about how I've grown as a learner and how my thinking has evolved over the years. When I was younger, I had views about art or politics or people that were unchallenged. Through conversations and experiences, both inside and outside the classroom, I began to see things more expansively. As Danish existential philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once said, quote, "There are only two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true. The other is to refuse to believe what is true," unquote. In other words, we are doing ourselves and those around us a great disservice when we are unwilling to see things differently. The King culture has given me the courage and the confidence to ask questions, to make mistakes, to be wrong, and to explore and discover new possibilities. I guess I've taken the advice to ask any questions to heart, as my paper plate award for the lacrosse season was, most likely to ask a stupid question. All jokes aside, being curious and allowing ourselves to ask the stupid question where the answer might seem obvious is what opens up conversations that we may not have otherwise had. So, I urge you all to ask the stupid questions and try not to take yourselves too seriously. In the classroom, my teachers have encouraged me and others to challenge our opinions, think for ourselves, and listen to each other. Ever since freshman year history with Mr. G, various teachers of mine have created a space for ideas to be shared, challenged, and debated. The clear takeaway for me and my classmates who have had these experiences is that our teachers value teaching us how to think, not what to think. For example, Mr. Learnicum deliberately assigned each member of my class positions in our comparative government House of Commons simulation that uniquely challenged our respective political views. If you know either Luke Buttenwieser or me, it was quite an interesting experience for Luke, co-leader of the Young Democrats Club, to represent the Conservative Party, and for me, co-leader of the Young Republicans Club, to represent the Labour Party. I'd like to point out that by the end of the simulation, Jeremy Corbyn of the Labour Party was the new Prime Minister, in spite of Luke's refusal to concede defeat. I want to share an example of how my thinking has changed in a completely unexpected way. If you were to talk to me sophomore year in Miss Nichols' art class, I would have probably told you that modern art is just a way for people to BS their way into getting money for doing something that a 5-year-old could make. To my surprise, my senior art colloquium was almost entirely comprised of conceptual art. I was encouraged by Miss Lapola and Miss Nichols to take a risk and pursue my passions and my themes, rather than confining myself to a certain form of art. And in doing so, I learned the importance of challenging my preconceived ways of doing things. I am also grateful to my classmates who have created an atmosphere of mutual respect as we discuss and debate some pretty charged issues. In particular, I can remember several debates with Dean, Jack Riley, and others during our free periods, and the mature discourse and Young Republicans Club versus Young Democrats Club debates. I also remember a spirited conversation on a controversial topic with Jordan, Natasha, Henry Lazarus, and Anna on the London Model UN trip last spring. We all walked away with a broader understanding, deeper friendships, and more open and curious minds. In each of these situations, as well as many others, I've discovered how important it is to listen to each other and be willing to see things in a new way. This posture has created unity through diversity, not uniformity. We're all friends with a lot more people than we imagined we would be. Having the courage to challenge who we think we are and what we believe
is far more valuable than accumulating knowledge and information or needing to win and to be right. I encourage you all to challenge your truths, especially if you are particularly strong in that conviction. For example, if you liked season 8 of Game of Thrones, you might want to rethink some things. I want to offer you one more quote. Einstein said, quote, "No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. We must learn to see the world anew," unquote. There are certainly a lot of problems to be solved, and with openness, curiosity, respect, and courage, the possibilities for our generation are endless. I'm honored to be a part of this incredible class. Congratulations to each and every one of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, all three of you. We now proceed to the section of the ceremony in which we make some acknowledgments and award some prizes. First, I want to talk a little bit about our Certificate of Distinctions. You'll notice that some of our graduates are wearing gold cords on their academic robes, and that indicates that they have received a distinction, a diploma distinction in this year, Global Studies, Leadership Studies, or STEM, a STEM distinction. So I'm going to read those names of students who've earned distinctions in those three categories. By category, we'll have you stand when you hear your name, and we'll remain standing, and when everyone's standing, we'll clap, okay? So, the Certificate of Distinction in Global Studies this year is awarded to those students who successfully completed a rigorous program of study in global studies over the course of their high school career. This year's recipients are Emily Barnard, Hannah Barrick, Elizabeth Asade, Riley Hicks, Alex Kearns, John Kennedy, Henry Meyer, Paul Newjame, Dean Pigott, Jack Riley, Amelia Whiteley, and Justin Zide. Congratulations. The Certificate of Distinction in Leadership Studies is awarded to students who successfully complete a rigorous program of study in leadership theory. In addition, these students have taken on numerous leadership roles, community leadership projects, and the completion of a capstone project. This year's recipients are Grady Baruchin, Victoria Crow, Caroline Eagleton, Josh Figueroa, Chrissy Nelly, and Sam Rabasa. The Certificate of Distinction in STEM is awarded to those students who have fulfilled the requirements that include in part rigorous coursework, club activity, and the completion of a capstone project in a STEM-related field. This year's recipients are Portia Cummings, Mallory Ehlers, and Ashley Eshoo. Congratulations. We now move on to the awarding of prizes. The Alumni Prize. The Alumni Prize is awarded to the member of the senior class who gives most promise of an adult sense of responsibility and obligation to the community, and who, in maturity, intelligence, and altruism, seems best fitted to take a place in the world. The Alumni Prize is presented to Paul Newjame. The Upper School Prize is awarded to a member of the senior class who, through scholastic and athletic or artistic achievements, leadership, and versatile and positive contributions to the life of the school, has earned the recognition of the faculty. This year's Upper School Prize is presented to Annie Michalski. The Faculty Prize is awarded to a member of the senior class who, through character, intelligence, and thoughtfulness, has won the deep respect of the faculty. This year's Faculty Prize is awarded to Katie Glinka. And this year, I'm going to ask Dr. Karen Eshoo to join me at the podium. We have a Heads Prize to award, and it's actually very, very moving to me that Nedgine Paul, who we will meet shortly, was the first student here to receive a Heads Prize. We only give these very, very rarely, but we are giving one this year. And so, Karen, in your first year, you get to award the prize.
Thanks, Marnie. The Heads Prize is awarded, as Marnie just mentioned, only in special circumstances. A student who clearly stands out as a true role model is the individual who is recognized by this award. This year's prize is presented to the student who, in all areas of the curriculum, has emerged as a person of powerful impact on the school community. This young man has distinguished himself through his tremendous honor, exceptional integrity, inspiring compassion, and exemplary leadership qualities. He is respected by all and has set the standard for the rest of the student body. This year, the Heads Prize is awarded to Luke Buttonwieser.
Congratulations to all of you. I now would ask Tom Conhini to come back up to the podium to introduce to us our commencement speaker.
Thanks, Marnie. So I'm honored to introduce Nedgine Paul Deroly, a 2004 alumna, and also the 2004 class valedictorian, the only class valedictorian in 2004. Returning to King School today to give the commencement address. Nedgine is a co-founder and CEO of Ansepu IET, which is dedicated to improving educational outcomes in rural Haiti by promoting excellence for teacher leaders and success for students. Nedgine's role as a change maker, revolutionizing education, comes as no surprise to King teachers. Mr. Galanopoulos, chair of the history department, remembers Nedgine as a true scholar and citizen of the world, with an unprecedented depth of understanding for the human condition and love of humanity. As Nedgine explains her path, at King I started to fall in love with education, to explore how to get involved in education professionally, and I started tutoring as I was encouraged by people like Mr. G to be an informed leader. After King, I enrolled at Yale, where I wrote my senior thesis about the history of education in Haiti. It was then that I realized education reform was possible and that I could return to Haiti with this focus. After Yale, Nedgine earned a master's degree in international education policy from the Harvard Graduate School of Education and successfully held a variety of roles shaping management teams in the fields of education and health. Nedgine's leadership has gained national attention. In 2014, she was named a top global social innovator by Echoing Green. And in 2016, Forbes magazine named Nedgine a 30 under 30 social entrepreneur. And then in 2018, she was one of 20 people selected from a pool of 20,000 as an Obama Foundation Fellow. Nedgine, you are as inspiring to us. Thank you for coming home to King to celebrate the class of 2019 and to honor King's long tradition of students charting their unique paths to excellence. Nedgine?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Karen Eshoo, the Board of Trustees, faculty and staff, distinguished guests, family, friends, and the members of the class of 2019. It is a real honor to be here an alumnus from the class of 2004. As part of a speech that I was honored to give during 2004 commencement, I remember asking all of my fellow classmates to stand and applaud for our loved ones without whom we would not have been able to be there on that special day. So class of 2019, I'm going to ask you to stand and do the same. Let's hear it for the friends, family, and loved ones who helped you reach this tremendous goal today. Thank you. When I was asked to speak at this year's commencement, I was both honored and, to be honest, at a loss for words. The honor comes from distinctly, vividly remembering sitting in these places here 15 years ago, full of excitement, anticipation, and gratitude for the finish line of high school. And I'm also super humbled to think about all that has happened since. And at a loss for words, because I'm an eternal learner, I asked myself, what could I share with you all here today? You've heard a bit of my bio, but there is so much more to my story. Looking back over the last 15 years, there is no single story that captures what has shaped me and what has shaped my path. It would be inaccurate, incomplete, and even dishonest to try to sum up who I am with any one personal story. So I won't try. And I know that many of you will even agree with the incredible Nigerian author, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who talked about the danger of a single story in her powerful 2009 TED Talk. According to Chimamanda, let us avoid the single story of any person or place that then becomes the only story. My journey has had its fair share of ups and downs, twists and curves, but standing with you all here today, I can truthfully say that what has been most important to me has been rooting myself in my personal identity. This is not about ego. This is not about selfishness. And can I be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the big existential philosophical questions, so I'm not going to go in that direction either. But what I'm referring to when I say rooting myself is, and speaking as plainly as I can, what has defined me? What matters to me, and why? Let me ask the members of the class of 2019, by a show of hands, during the past month, how many of you have been asked where you're going to college? Keep your hands up. How many of you have been asked, what will your major be? What about what is most important to you? What about what brings you joy? Thank you. The fact that their hands started to go down is not a surprise to me. That was my experience as well 15 years ago, and to be very honest, in most cases and in most scenarios, that's still the case. Since graduating from King in 2004, I am struck by how often I get asked questions about what, where, why, sometimes how much. But what I am rarely asked are questions about who I am as a person and what I care about most. Yet questions about my personal identity have pushed me the most and have afforded me the greatest opportunities to stand for something. It has been the foundation on which I have built my career, my passion, and my purpose. Some of what I have learned since high school, during college, graduate school, and during my career so far, is that to delve into personal identity, it can get pretty messy. So much of our identity, or even our attempts to uncover more about who we truly are, those desires and those attempts are often pushed aside to conform to a standard that remains unquestioned. The status quo is actually what remains with that lack of questioning. And so I am currently co-founder and CEO of an organization called Enseigne pour Haïti, which focuses on equipping a new generation of civic leaders in my native Haiti to prioritize questioning. We question the status quo every single day. Our collective push is to make sure education equity becomes a reality and leads to the liberation of all of our people. Ultimately, the success of the Ancien pour Haïti movement is rooted in the who question. Every day, we're asking, who am I, who are you, and who are we together? We now work with 215 teacher leaders across 65 rural partner schools and reach over 7,000 students every day. And it's because we have prioritized the power of identity as well as academic excellence that we have seen incredible student achievement gains. From a rural community average of 30% of students, we now have our students passing at 85% on time and on grade level. Our students are equipped to know who they are, where they come from, and to be proud of it. We believe that those who know themselves and have themselves experienced inequity and injustice are the ones best positioned to lead the fight to dismantle it, because they are the solution bearers. So I turn to you, 2019 grads. In thinking about who you are, I hope who you are become the roots of your tree, the roots of your personal tree. You will add thickness to your trunk. That's what builds your character over time. Stick with me here, all right? You're gonna add the limbs, the branches, the leaves over time with every experience, position, title, every success, every failure. But the roots, they gotta be planted deep. They're the ones that will sustain you. My roots were planted by my father, Wetnick, and my mother, Ghislaine, nurtured by my family members, and further enriched by some incredible teachers who inspired my lifelong path as a teacher and as an educator. While teachers contributed to some transformative experiences, those are the limbs and the leaves I was referring to, what I want to share with you today is that many of those incredible teachers push me to be true to my roots. They are teachers like Juliette Salomon, my 4th grade teacher, whose pride in her Haitian identity served as a model for me. She carried her identity in her speech, her behavior, her jokes, and in encouraging every single student to always reach higher. There are teachers like Mr. Brad Wallace, my 7th grade math teacher, who recognized my thirst for learning and built up my confidence. And there are teachers like King's very own Mr. Christos Galanopoulos, who taught me that there was a reason why my identity was so wrapped up in my love of history, why I was so drawn to learning about the everyday people of historical social movements. Because I believed then, and I still do today, that to know myself means knowing where I come from and knowing who my ancestors are. So being rooted in one's identity frees us up to think differently, to lead differently, to orient ourselves towards how we fit into this world and how we can choose to positively contribute to society as active citizens. So what I wanted to close with is what I have learned based on rooting myself in who I am. It's helped me understand 3 principles that I'd like to share with the class of 2019. So first, I've realized that history is today. I'll say that again. History is today. Whether it's our education system, climate change, or how food systems feed entire populations or not, there is history embedded in every single aspect of our lives on a daily basis. So while you're learning about your own personal histories, let's also encourage each other to dig deep into the systems that we may be taking for granted as ready-made or ready-set. As a social justice activist, I have learned it is impossible to participate in dismantling the systems of education and justice without first recognizing how those systems came to be in the first place. Let's push ourselves beyond the most well-known texts, beyond social media snapshots, or what's being peddled as popular opinion, and really unearth the messy, complex factors that have contributed to today's social constructs. Just as importantly, grads, know that how you express yourselves in person, online, on social media, all of that either reflects, perpetuates, or shifts social constructs. Let's be aware of the role that we each play in shaping the world around us going forward. Secondly, I've learned to constantly ask, who am I in relation to others? Who are you in relation to others? I am not encouraging an approach to personal identity that promotes solitude. On the contrary, human beings are social beings for a reason, but not social beings in the way that Facebook has defined friendship or based on the number of Instagram likes that you got on your posts. When I refer to knowing who you are in relation to others, I mean taking the time for dialogue, for relationships, and for listening. It would be so much easier to find shortcuts because relationship building, it's difficult. To really listen, not to hear, but to really listen is difficult. But respect and love, what our world needs so desperately right now, are rooted in relationship building. Citizenship, it's rooted in relationship building. Many are surprised to learn that I actually took about 4 years to literally listen to hundreds of community members in rural Haiti well before I realized what our organization and what our movement could become. And that was the best 4-year decision I have ever made because it is the foundation on which the impact and the success of our movement now sits. So I encourage every grad from the class of 2019 to sit and have a meal with someone new as often as you can, to participate in conversations that push you outside of your comfort zone. These experiences will challenge you, but trust that they will also deepen your roots and open your perspective. These experiences will help build the relationships that facilitate community. Third and last, I've learned that collective leadership creates social impact. Know who you are, then know how you relate to others, and then build shared vision as a collective. I am so struck by how often we overlook the mobilization of hundreds and thousands of people when referring to the stories of successful social movements. We refer to the power, and rightly so, of Martin Luther King Jr., Susan B. Anthony, Toussaint Louverture, Nelson Mandela. But we must not forget the complex, diverse, and sometimes hidden teamwork that it takes to make social movements take hold. Because true systemic change requires collective leadership. It's tempting to think that we can go at this alone. I'll just add a couple more hours to my study. I'll add a couple more hours to my work day. I'll think about these strategic ideas on my own because my team members are driving me crazy. I'll publicize all of my amazing skills as often as I can. But relationships are important because they don't only sustain us, they propel real and lasting social impact. As the American anthropologist Margaret Mead tells us, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Said another way by a popular African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I encourage the class of 2019 to be the ones who go far by modeling collective leadership, knowing yourself well enough that you can positively contribute to a shared vision. And I'll add one more tidbit, one more suggestion. Let's build together from an asset-based approach rather than from deficits. The world tells us what is broken, what needs to be fixed again and again. But let's instead recognize the beautiful assets that exist all around us and leverage them towards shared well-being. The next few months and years will probably fly by for you all. It's going to go by in a blur. It may not feel that way today, but trust me, they will. There's going to be a lot of noise, a lot of distractions. It's easy to get caught up. But please, take the time to know who you are, to know what matters to you, to know what brings you joy. And just as importantly, build your tribe and stand for something. If you were to ask me today, who am I? I'd answer, I am a proud daughter of Haiti. I am an educator. I stand for justice. Who are you? Congratulations and best of luck to the class of 2019.
Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, we'll be hearing from the King Choir. It is quite an honor for me to introduce this year's student speaker, Dean Pigott. Dean has been chosen by his classmates to give this talk today. And just to share some background on Dean, he came to school in 3rd grade and has distinguished himself as a student who is deeply curious, hungry for knowledge, and relentless in his search for understanding. Dean's teachers have noticed that he does not simply complete assignments with the resignation of someone going through the motions of this thing that we call school. Rather, he craves challenges and also enjoys its associated struggles. He feels passionately about events in history and characters in literature, and that is evident in the quality of his engagement in his classes. Dean's passion for politics and debate and his work on and off campus in these areas are perhaps some of his most defining characteristics. He's been the president of the King debate team, the editor-in-chief of the school newspaper, and a leader on our Model United Nations team. He also is vice president of the Young Democrats Club here at King, and I love that at our graduation today, you will have heard from the vice president of the Democratic Club, as well as the vice president of the Republican Club. This is King. We welcome all perspectives here. And the best part is they're friends. Now, he also has interned for Attorney General William Tong, and he has said in many ways that these are the kinds of engagements that really feed his soul. In fact, what I've learned about Dean is that he cannot not engage in debates whenever possible. He is very happy to take the contrarian viewpoint and will stick with it until he realizes it's time to just move on to another one. Dean also cannot stay silent in the face of injustice, and that perhaps is what propels him forward most. Now, I actually had the pleasure of meeting Dean when I had been on the job, I think for about 2 or 3 weeks. He and a group of students came in to introduce themselves to me and tell me all of the things about King that they expected me to change right away. And I learned right away that, again, Dean has this passion for debate and for politics. Now, one of the other things I learned pretty quickly is that Dean is also an amazing soccer player. And so when I went to one of the early soccer games in that season, Dean actually made one of, I'm not making this up, one of the best catches in right at the top of the goal. It was so good. He jumped so high to block this kick that everybody around screamed. And in that moment, I heard myself say out loud, "And I know that guy." It was pretty amazing. Now, in the fall, Dean is going to enter St. Andrew's College in Edinburgh, Scotland. And because I have a partner who is half Scottish and actually is from Edinburgh, his mother still lives there, I know a lot about the Scots. And they themselves really love a good debate, really love a good debate. And I have a feeling that they're not going to know what hit them when the American Dean Pigott shows up for school. Dean.
Thank you, Dr. Eshoo, for your kind introduction. I am honored to be the first of the many class speakers you will introduce here at King. Before I start, I would like to thank a few people on behalf of the class of 2019. First, to every teacher who has taught members of the senior class from pre-K to grade 12, it is a result of your hard work that we are up on this stage. Without your tireless hours in and out of the classroom, we would not be the same men and women you see up here today. Secondly, I would like to thank the parents of every student in our class. The class of 2019 stands as a testament to your hard work. While we must not forget how they spent many hours cooking us dinner, driving us to games, or attending our class plays, we must most importantly acknowledge their job as our primary role models. Next, Dr. Eshoo and Mrs. Sadlowski. These two people work insanely hard to make sure everything is running smoothly within the walls of our school. Every day, I walk by the big windows of Mrs. Sadlowski's office to see her deeply enthralled in meetings with teachers and staff. And I think I can speak for everyone when I say that Dr. Eshoo has exceeded all expectations held of her first year as head of school. I would also like to thank the King Board of Trustees. They work tirelessly all year to make the King experience the best it can be. And I know they will all be excited when we walk across this stage today and transition from students to something much more important, alumni donors. I first came to King in the fall of 2009, entering the 3rd grade. Over the course of the last 10 years, I've had the esteemed privilege to grow up alongside much of the class of 2019. For reference, when I first came to King, swine flu had just swept across the country, Tiger Woods' downturn started with the car crash, and Boom Boom Pow by the Black Eyed Peas topped the year's Billboard charts. Even then, it was easy to see that our grade was not particularly typical. In lower school, our grade could best be remembered for inventing a game called Dakugan, which involved dueling rubber ducks spinning on their heads, and also for having some of the most explosive touch football games imaginable at recess. Back then, our grade was about 32 kids. Over the last 10 years, our grade has expanded to over 90, but the strength of the bond between the students has not been diluted with numbers. We had nearly doubled in size by the time we ended middle school. It was in those years where one could start to see how members of our grade learned to grow together and thrive in the chaos that is middle school. I think there was something about surviving Mr. Tran's 8th grade CPS class and the drama of the Washington, D.C. trip that can really unite a diverse group. I'm still confused to this day why bringing 60 pubescent children hundreds of miles away from their home and leaving them in business suite-sized rooms is a good idea in anyone's mind. But we all had a great time, so who am I to judge? Though many students on the stage were not a part of these specific memories, it feels as if they were part of the pack that has been here since the lower school. I remember asking a friend earlier this year if he remembered an event from the 4th grade, and he subsequently explained to me that he came here his sophomore year. I think this mistake on my part is a testament to how close we have become as a grade. Whether you came in pre-K or junior year, you are an integral part of the group we have become. The students that make up this class have an incredible ability to rally behind each other. We have motivated each other to go further and work together for accomplishments we can all share. This class has already shown me its real character when I experienced challenges in my own life. They stepped up to show real compassion and loyalty, and I will never forget it. Notably, the students in this class are also able to blend love and mutual respect with the ability to cause absolute, undistilled chaos. This chaos arises from the energy of 96 students, all with their own motivations, ideas, and goals. Rather than sow division, it has brought us together and prepared us for the rapidly changing world that the King mission statement is so serious about. As the great entrepreneur Peter Baelish once said, chaos is a ladder. Though life is unpredictable, this unpredictability can lead to opportunities and experiences beyond what we could have imagined. When seized upon, these opportunities, aka the rungs of the ladder, can change your life and that of those around you for the better. Being a member of the class of 2019 has taught me that in a rapidly changing and chaotic world, not only will I be prepared after my time here, but if I ever needed any help in my endeavors, I would have no trouble finding the full support of my former classmates. You can see examples of this in virtually every facet of the King School experience. In the academic realm, I don't think I've ever seen more excitement and celebration about anything than when Cameron Raker got a perfect score in the state math championship for the 2nd straight year. It even became commonplace for the entire senior area of the cafeteria to erupt into applause after one of the people at Cam's table stood up and yelled, "Cam got a 100 on his math test." There was even more of a group celebration when it was announced this week that we would have 96 valedictorians, a new King record. On the athletic fields, members of the class of 2019 can be credited with motivating students to attend more sporting events, highlighted by the student-led Taco Bell Live Mas student section at hockey games. I really knew we had something special as a class when we got so many people to go to the playoff hockey game up at Harvey School that we outnumbered the home fans 2-1. On the stage, the class of 2019 filled the PAC during multiple sold-out performances of Mamma Mia. The performances of Jordan, Blair, Caroline, Derek, Chloe, and Grady were so impressive that many students ended up attending 2 or 3 shows. Philanthropically, the class came together to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for organizations such as the Orphan Starfish Foundation, the Boys and Girls Club, Harlem Lacrosse, and Project Music. I would feel confident placing a bet that over 50% of the class came to the annual King Cares 5K, an incredible feat considering it started at 8 a.m. on a Sunday, not usually the environment you find a high concentration of sleep-deprived teenagers. Though we will treasure all of these moments, the ones that stand out the most are the little ones that I could have not experienced with any other group of people. These are the moments that best exemplify the unity, mutual respect, and originality of our class. They are the massive games of Senior Assassin with over half the grade. They are the birthday celebrations at midnight in Model UN hotel rooms. They are the civil debates between young Democrat and young Republican clubs, which rather than exacerbated political divides, help forge respect and show that even in today's America, it is possible for the two sides to agree, sans the occasional presidential Twitter outburst. While I could drone on for hours about how special our grade is, I would like to ensure at least one person will not be asleep when I finish my speech, especially considering this was written expecting to be the second, not the fourth student on this podium today. If there's any message to be taken away from this speech, it is watch out, because the class of 2019 is coming. This stage is filled with future scientists, senators, psychologists, and salesmen, and a lot of just good people. I believe we are better equipped to handle the highs and lows of life intellectually and emotionally because of our classmates. Luke, you might not believe me now, but you will in a few years. You have not peaked in high school. While speeches like these usually urge students to stay in contact with their friends or to reflect on their time in high school, I know I don't have to. The friendships and memories forged in these halls will stay with us forever, and we know that if any of us ever needs anything, the rest of the class of 2019 has our backs. When you all walk across this stage in a few minutes, you should feel confident that you will have every member of the class of 2019 behind you, even through the chaos. Thank you, and congratulations again to the class of 2019.
I know that guy. So we're about to start now with the main event. And this year, we opened up an opportunity for colleagues whose students are graduating to come to stage to also congratulate them because of their role here as colleagues. And so for those colleagues who are in the audience, if you'd like to just come around the tent and be over here for when your child comes up, we'll see you over here. Thank you.
Ari Mackey. Joshua Gavin Ian Lewis. Derek Henry Hassan. Samuel Reed Rabasa. Kenneth Thomas Dyson, Jr. Paul Christopher Newjame. James Radcliffe Ross. James Theophilus Hilton. Lavon Marquise Lewis. Louis Bear. George Leo Dowling. John Matthew Shine Mancuso. Joshua James Palmer. John Emery Meisels. Justin Tyler Zide. Jack Rudolph Riley. Jacob Gordon Savitz. Alex Charles Canavari. Christopher William Rubich. Christopher James Delagiacono. Cameron Spire Raker. Santiago Silvani. Michael Christopher Carnivalla. Alexander Gordon Knorr. Alexander Richard Kearns. Eli J. Godner. Luke Paul Nascimento. Luke William Buttonweeser. Tyler Jake Schiffman. Nicholas Theodore Carnivalla. Henry George Meyer. Joseph Daniel Scared. John Lacey Kennedy III. Nicholas Christopher Perez. Daniel Kulaguz. Jack Fergus McOsker. Chloe Elizabeth Samanti. Amelia Aniela Whiteley. Charlotte Grace Freund. Margaret Elise Toll. Claire Tully. Geraldine Delaney Harris. Robin Valeria Johnson. Augusta Ray DeMartin. J.D. Goldenberg. Blair Ellen Walton Holy. Ava Sage Rabinowitz. Christine Vasilia Nelly. Desaya Jaden Anderson. Natasha Chloe Asa. Anna Wills Patton. Elena Bronwyn Teeter. Catherine Mary Glinka. Jenna Preston McCrae. Louise Marie Dill. Jessica Isabel Stibe. Christina Harper Thorson. Elizabeth Brooke Essaid. Madison Alexandra Backus. Riley Hicks. Elizabeth Grace Beckman. Samuel Carlisle Gleason. Charles Grady Norton. George Presley Taylor VI. Alexis Garcia. Henry Schaefer Lazarus. Samuel Andrew Nadler. Alexander Morris Holtz. Brandon Clark Chow. Grady Sebastian Baruchin. Matthew Paul Garavel. Joshua Herman Figueroa. Claire Allison Tulloch. Ava Elizabeth Edwards. Kate Paris Bantle. Alexa Maria Vasiliou. Emily Claire Barnard. Megan Elizabeth Burston. Haley Ann Barros. Victoria Rosina Maronian. Jordan Nicole Kulik. Hannah Lily Barrick. Portia Faith Cummings. Kendall Ashley Battles. Alana Yvette Christie. Ashley Jiachi Shu. Anne Witter. Victoria Caroline Crow. Maria Katerina Myrianthopoulos. Hope Kathleen Deschapelle. Caroline Jean Eagleton. Greer Eileen Lammons. Mallory Elizabeth Ehlers. Grethe Elizabeth Andersen. Annie Michalski. Dean Pigott.
So, class of 2019, it's time to make this official. Hands on tassels, please. Not on the hat, just the tassel right now. That other thing comes later. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the graduates of King School in the class of 2019. I would like to invite Reverend Mark Lingle back to the podium for the benediction.
Isn't it crazy?
Please be seated.
So what are you doing now? Oh, really? Yeah.
Congratulations, graduates.
I mean, I'm working. I started Maryland.
As you go on your way, may the blessing of the divine mystery go with you. May you be surprised by joy, staggered by grace, stirred by love, sustained with peace, and sense the gift of each moment, so that you might live more fully into the mystery that you are. Amen.
So I have a few announcements to make before we close today. First, as our graduates leave the stage, each graduate is going to pick up a bell. They're all here on the table for you. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this tradition, it's a really lovely one. Every year we begin our school year at King by ringing in the new year with bells in the gym. This is with the entire school, all of the faculty, all the students from pre-K to 12. It's one of the few times in the year that we're all together. It's really loud and it's really hot, so if you ever want to join us, really feel free. But it is a lovely tradition to ring in the school year, and today our seniors are going to ring out their time here at King, so make sure that you'll pick up your bells. There is going to be a reception for everybody. We're going to have some light refreshments over in front of the middle school, which is just behind us here, the red brick building, so please join us for that. And then for the graduates, you all know what to do with your robes when we're done with this as well. So what we're going to do first is we're going to stand and sing together, America the Beautiful. So please stand. And then I will dismiss us after the song with the graduates going first. To begin to process to form the honor guard. I'm about to. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you hanging. All right. Once again, let's all congratulate the King class of 2019.
I'm never sure who knows the tag and doesn't. We never